Okay, this is day one of the demonstration on linear perspective. This will involve making squares into cubes using one-point perspective. We have a series of 5 of them. For this demonstration, you'll need a ruler, or at least a straight edge that you could have measurements. You also need something to draw with. I'll be just using a plain pencil. You also need, if you have not printed out the sheet on Google Classroom, you'll need to do that. If you cannot, you'll need to draw these items on your own sheet. So try to recreate what's on this sheet as close as you can so you can make sure you draw it correctly. So I'm going to start with the square on the top left corner of the picture plane. If you forgot what these terms are, refer back to the lecture that I have posted before this demonstration. So we're going to draw some cubes that are opaque. We cannot see through them. So we're going to start with this one. On the corners of the square that we do not, or that we see, that are closest to the vanishing point, in this case it'll be the top top right, bottom right, and bottom left. So for those 3 corners of the square, I'm going to go to my vanishing point. Okay. I'm going to my vanishing point, and I'm going to measure 3/4 of an inch from the top using that line, the guideline, if you will. So it's not going to be straight across, it's going to be 3/4 of an inch at this line. I'll label that measurement for you. And I put a little dot. And I'm going to use my ruler to make sure that my line stays straight. So I've lined up my ruler with this line of the square. I'm just going to slide my ruler over, and hopefully it'll stay that straight line. And I'm going to draw lightly a line at the top of my picture plane all the way down, because that will help us measure to make sure that it is the other cubes we're going to draw are the same thickness. By 3/4 of an inch, that's a good eyeball way of thinking that it is a cube and not a block. We are drawing cubes and not blocks. Blocks can be other shapes other than even on all 4 sides. Okay, for the bottom of this cube, because we have our side right here, the second line, the line that goes from the bottom right corner, where that meets that line we drew, they intersect right there. That's where the line that represents the bottom of the cube, in this case the bottom of the square. So we're going to line up our ruler with the bottom of the square, and we're going to slightly move our ruler straight down until we reach the intersection, and we're going to go all the way across from the left to the right, like that. So we have our forced cube in one-point perspective. I'm darkening my lines of the cube so you can see them a bit better. So once again, force these three corners of your cube. You're going to go to your vanishing point. That's where those lines are. From the top corner, top right corner, we measured 3/4 of an inch, and that's where it was for me. And don't forget it is 3/4 of an inch this way, not this way. To a line all the way down, and where this line, the bottom right corner meets the line, the 3/4 of an inch line, we drew a line across there. So that makes it the illusion of being a cube and not a block. Okay, for the second cube, the one in the middle top of my picture plane, above the horizon line, kind of in the middle exactly. The only parts we're going to see is this bottom, so the bottom right and the bottom left. I'm going to go to my vanishing point. Bottom right, bottom right, bottom left. And since we are in the middle, pretty much above the horizon line, we will not see a side like we did with the first one, only the bottom. So that's all we need to do for the cube in this location. For the third cube, the one that's on the top right above the horizon line, top right of your picture plane, above your horizon line, it's going to be almost a mirror image of the first cube we did. So instead of the left side, we're going to, the right side, instead of the right side. On the left side, we're going to go to the vanishing point, so that's the top left, top right, or bottom left and bottom right. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. We have this thickness line, this guideline right here. So we have the bottom thickness. We're going to make sure they stay uniform. So here's the bottom. And the bottom left line meets your thickness line for the bottom, but those intersect right there. That's how thick it is on the side. So we're going to line up our ruler like we did initially, and we're going to slide it until we reach that intersection. And that's our third cube. So once again, for the second one, because I didn't go back and explain about the second one. The second one, from the bottom left, bottom right, I went to my vanishing points. and use that thickness line that I had for my force cube that I drew all the way across. I use that to determine my thickness of the bottom of the cube. And for the third cube, it's the top left, bottom right. We draw lines to the vanishing point from those corners of the square. Once again, we use the thickness line of the bottoms of the first and second cube to determine the thickness of our bottom for this one. And where this bottom left cube intersects the thickness line, for me it's right there, I drew a cube or a line. To make sure that it stayed straight. If you need to pause this video at any time to catch up or just to go back to explain, you have that right. For the fourth cube, I'm going to raise my paper slightly. For the fourth cube that is on the horizon line, that is literally bisected, cut in half. So half is above the horizon line, half is below. For that, it's going to be almost like a side view of the middle one we did on top. So instead of the bottom, it's going to be the right side. So the right top, right bottom, from those two corners of the cube square. And go to the vanishing point. And if our 3/4 of an inch line we went all the way down, we have the thickness of this cube already. Just like how the bottom is the thickness of the second cube, the right side thickness is what we saw in the 3/4 of an inch. And the final part of this demonstration, or this part, for this day, is the cube that's in the middle. If we have a square that's covering the horizon line and fortunately covering the vanishing point, because this cube is opaque, cannot see through it, we do not see anything else of the cube. Just this side of the cube. If the cube was not opaque, you would draw an X, find the middle, and you would draw a square in the inside. But that's if the cube was opaque. It was not opaque, I'm sorry. It was transparent. So that's our demonstration on cubes in 1-point perspective. The second demonstration will be posted tomorrow, or day 2. And that will cover 2-point perspective. If you printed these sheets out, you know that it looks different. It's like that. Notice already you start with lines, vertical lines specifically. You start vertical lines instead of squares. So the main difference between starting 1-point and 2-point perspective cubes is squares to start out with, and 2-point perspective is line-based. So with that, repeat this as needed. Don't forget to put the time and date you finished this demonstration, and turn these sheets in by taking a photograph of it and pasting it onto this Google Classroom day. And once again, if you or draw on your own sheet. Try to get as close as you can to what's on these sheets as possible. Have a nice day.